Okay, so I was wrong. I'm sure plenty of you remember my Garten of Banban video, the one where I basically said that Garten of Banban was the only mascot horror game I could deem worse than Poppy Playtime. Well, not only have my opinions on that shifted, I have to kind of admit something now. I like one of the Poppy games, specifically Project Playtime. For those who don't know, Project Playtime is a Poppy Playtime spin-off that has you and a team of up to 6 survivors face off against one of 3 possible monsters, those being Huggy Wuggy, Mommy Longlegs, and newcomer to this game specifically, Boxy Boo. Your goal is to construct a toy and escape, with the aforementioned monsters dogging you and your team the whole time. The most apt comparison would be Dead by Daylight. The structure is very similar, survivors versus monster, and the goals are almost identical, but whereas Dead by Daylight has pretty much one puzzle, if you want to call it that, and it's not fun, Project Playtime offers a multitude and is honestly very fun, especially with friends. My first time playing, I was in a Discord VC with Pastra, David Barron, The Baddest, Dags, Gaming Age, Ordinarily Average, and The Amazing World of Gumball, and honestly, it was such a good time. I only wish I was recording it. I'm going to quickly run through the puzzles, the monsters, and why the game works so well, while also dogging on to some technical malarkey, but basically all you have to know is that I really like this game. So let's get started with monsters. But before I can get into talking about this game, I need a refresher, something new to sink my greasy mitts into. I can only talk about some games for so long before my eyes start to melt, which is why I'm not only proud, but also relieved to announce this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Yes, that raid. Raid Shadow Legends is a mobile RPG that you can play on your Android or iOS devices. It features console-quality graphics, a world filled with mysteries and wonders, and a brilliant battling system. This game, in short, feels like an epic story that fits in your pocket. Raid just recently celebrated its 4-year anniversary, and if you ask me, anniversaries are meant for partying. And not just partying, dinner partying. Who am I inviting? Well, my guests are all going to be orcs, because who knows how to party better than an orc? Let's bring Gallic, Zargala, Vrask, and Tuhak. Just lay off the axe throwing. I specifically picked Gallic and Zargala because I believe that those two would know how to carve up a turkey, Thanksgiving style. As for Vrask and Tuhak, well, what can I say other than I just feel like they'd really stir up some interesting conversations at the dinner table, specifically regarding different battle strategies. If you want to invite these guests for yourself, you can try summoning them at the tavern. If you want your champions to be even stronger, then be sure to grind out Raid's expansive campaign and raise their levels through XP to take on bigger foes. After dinner, we're hitting the new live arena raids, PvP battles where you, the players, choose which champions can and can't join you and become the ultimate champion. But it's not just for fun, these battles will feature brand new artifact sets, void fragments for a legendary champion, and special live arena crests for use at the Great Hall. If you haven't played Raid yet, what are you waiting for? Download this game and use my link in the description to get Kellen the Shrike, an epic champion, as well as several other beginner bonuses. Install Raid now, and let's reach our install goal. So bring your best, and I'll be seeing you on the battlefield. Of the 3 available monsters, I very rarely ever encountered a player who would want to be Mommy Longlegs, since she's by far the most difficult to play as. Although she has ridiculous mobility with the ability to basically grappling hook onto any surface, it comes at a cost to her not being able to short jump like all of the other characters. Sneaking up on players isn't really a thing in this game since the danger music is almost always playing when they're nearby, and your footsteps are going to be very loud. So loud in fact that I 100% freaked out any time I heard them my first time playing, even though I was safe most of the time. Huggy Wuggy is a bit better, although he has the least mobility of any of the monsters, only being able to walk and run around. Huggy is able to place small, mini Huggies that act as alarms for when players walk past them, and although these things are pretty cute, they're damn near useless since most players will simply book it when they're spotted anyway. If they maybe, I don't know, restrain the players that walk in front of them for a few seconds, I could totally be into it. Nevertheless, they are kinda adorable, so they're not too offensive. Huggy also has one of the most punishing moves in the game, that being his sprint attack. At a push of a button, you become the fastest character in the game, and are able to instantly down any unfortunate player in your way. So overall, Huggy's a good pick if you're just learning the game. Boxy Boo, however, is my preferred monster of choice, and definitely the character the devs put the most love and soul into. Boxy's mobility options are my favorite in the game, as he's able to launch his right arm out to snag players and bring them closer to him, or he can charge up his own launch and be sent flying, usually right into a player. Although Boxy does overall less damage with his swipe attack than Huggy, I still think that for the amount of havoc you can inflict with your special attacks, it's worth the cost. As a monster, when you down a player, you can feed them to the wuggies in these little pits. As you can imagine, my brain is heavily rotted, so most times I fell into the pit, I started yelling the Into the Pit lyrics from that Dako song. And now seems like a good time to shift over to the player. The player's task is to create a toy by collecting 6 toy parts, and then connecting this tube to this machine. Seems simple enough, right? Wrong. Each toy part is contained within these puzzle towers with 3 puzzles. In order to get the part inside, you need to complete all 3 puzzles. Of course, the fastest way to go about this is to have 3 people on one tower, but that greatly increases the odds that a monster will not only spot you, but it almost guarantees a kill. You're better off splitting up and tackling each tower as much as you can before Huggy comes to tear you a new one. The puzzles are also all really well done with maybe one exception, but we'll get to that. First, the dot code. The dot code puzzle has a panel of dots that will flash a sequence that you need to memorize, and then press into again. This one is generally one of the easier puzzles so long as you pay attention, which can be difficult in stressful situations. It's honestly one of my favorites because it's only as hard as the situation around it. Next is the color wheel. This one is more reflex based and has you press these lights as soon as they come up. This one can actually be very long, but is also probably the easiest since it's hardly even a puzzle. Next is the piano. This one is basically just Simon Says, not too hard, but definitely on the lower end for me personally. The ball maze is another favorite of mine. You have to rotate 2 sets of mazes to get a yellow ball to reach the bottom. I used to love these kinds of toys as a kid, and it honestly took me back when playing this particular minigame. But the last puzzle is also by far the worst. The crane game. This one is a claw machine where you're told to grab a certain character. Do this 3 times and you win. The problem is that this is a reflex puzzle where the claw itself has a delay, so most of the time you end up picking the wrong one because you actually need to press the button like half a second earlier than you think you should. Plus, the animations are so long for this one, even if you know you picked up the wrong toy, it still goes through the whole animation. Luckily, this one doesn't start from the beginning if you mess up, so at least there's that. All in all though, all of these are better than starting generators. Once you've solved all 3 puzzles on a tower, it will open up and reveal a toy part. Your job then is to carry this toy part to a toy deposit box. However, while carrying the toy you cannot use your grab pack hands, so be careful, as you'll be unable to shut doors or swing across gaps for safety. Once all 6 toy parts have been deposited, you'll need to go down and connect the tube to the toy machine. Once that's connected, your next mission is to escape by boarding the train you started on. However, it's possible for a player to actually go to a different platform and call the train over, giving the survivors multiple ways of escape. This also dissuades exit camping, which is definitely a thing I see happen like every round. In the unfortunate event you get caught, however, you're going to the pit. Once in here, you have to endure an onslaught of wuggies that crawl out from the pipes on the walls. Endure them until you're rescued and you're safe. However, you can only go down there so many times before you're instantly killed by wuggies, so it's best to not get caught at all. Overall, I'd say this feature is balanced, but I do think players should probably be given at least one more chance in the pit, because what can happen is you'll be saved by a teammate, and then you'll both be immediately taken out by Huggy, and you've just lost another life within 10 seconds of coming back. This happens to me way more often than I think is acceptable, and honestly feels like an oversight on the developer's end. Maybe invincibility frames once you spawn back in? I don't know, I really don't want to go down that route, so that's why I said an extra life. Although to be completely honest, if this was all the game was, it would be short and sweet with little to write home about other than it being a fairly competent DBD clone with arguably more enjoyable moment-to-moment gameplay. But have you heard of customization? This is where the game gets really interesting. You're able to completely change up your outfit, your appearance, and even unlock skins for the different monsters. My favorite item has to be the chemistry teacher, which gives you a goatee and a pair of glasses. Gee, I wonder what that's in reference to. But basically, the customization is really cool. A fair bit of it is locked behind the toy box, which is essentially a battle pass. But hey, I'm not paying for Fortnite, so this should be acceptable. They even squeezed an M&M reference into the Spider Lady. Overall, I would say that Project Playtime is the most enjoyable experience Mob Games has ever made, and continues to make, in part because it has almost nothing to do with previous Poppy titles. Honestly, the team did a really good job at making a game that's fun for people who haven't played Poppy in the past and are looking for a new multiplayer experience, which unfortunately leads me to the part of the video where I start my criticisms. Being a multiplayer experience, you can't really play Project Playtime alone. So why can I not join other lobbies? Yeah, the servers for this game are really not that great. Expect random boots, crashes, and disconnects whenever the game feels like it. It honestly makes joining a game a roll of the dice, and plenty of times you're not going to turn up lucky. For some people, this has been the worst element of Project Playtime, being it's so goddamn unstable, even now after multiple updates. Whatever the problem is, it's in the roots, and I hope Mob Games is able to fix it for the next content update. Oh yeah, content. I praised the game earlier for the content that's here, but for the content that's not, it's very strange. For example, this game launched with only 2 maps, and only one of them is good. The theater is such a blast of a map for this game. It's nearly perfect. The playing ground gives both the monster and the survivors opportunities to make dangerous plays that either pay off or leave you trapped in the pit. The factory though? Oh, it's so bad. Much of this level is one open floor, which is terrible when you're being chased, so you want to ideally stay above ground. Nevertheless, these puzzle towers are in such strange places that almost always leave you open at all times. The factory is a pain to navigate as both monster and survivor, and just doesn't make sense when compared to the aforementioned theater. While this map isn't terrible, it's just nowhere near as fun as theater. Sorry if it sounds like I went off a bit there, but genuinely, the factory is the only part of this game I genuinely don't like. It's the only part that I can't look past the flaws of because it worsens the overall gameplay experience. Here's hoping that when the next update drops, the third map takes more cues from the theater than the factory. There is one more element about the game I don't like, but it's nowhere near as bad as the previously mentioned factory. Overall, I don't like the perk system. This system enables the players to improve their basic abilities, whether it be for puzzle solving or monster evasion. In concept, this is good, as it rewards players who spend more time in the game, since they win tickets and can buy more perks. The problem? These perks are damn expensive, at 600 a pop to start. You can also only slot so many at a time, so you need to pick and choose which expensive items you take with you. The monsters have a parallel with the sabotages, but these are honestly handled much better since these sabotages can be straight up devastating. Shutting down any interactable object in the environment especially is a death sentence. Hold the phone, why are sabotages so good compared to perks? It's kinda infuriating. Regardless, that's luckily all the negatives I have regarding this game. I overall love it. It really surprised me that the same studio who created arguably the most on-the-nose cash cow mascot horror has ever seen took that and actually made it into something really special with this game. I think it's very funny that when Chapter 3 of Poppy comes out, everyone will probably be reminded why they didn't like this series in the first place. But until then, this is Mob Games' diamond in the rough. Please don't ask me to review Poppy. In the end, I still don't support Poppy Playtime, but if more of their energy and efforts went into making this game better than it is in its current state, they might potentially win over some of the favor they lost when they decided to log lore behind dumbass f***ing NFTs. Well, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe and share this video around. It's been a blast actually reviewing a game again, so I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Remember to tune in to my streams every Friday at 1 PM EST, and I'll see you there. Peace.